So just like I predicted, Brie Bella lost at Fastlane, officially negating any significance that this story had. And even worse, all of that supposed heat that Charlotte was supposed to get off of this feud really didn't amount to anything. Because just like I said, she's just transitioning into an NXT feud like nothing with Brie even mattered. In fact, it's even worse than I thought, because I thought they were at least going to mention that Charlotte beat Brie in some kind of a throwaway line where Charlotte just grabs a mic and says, "I, Charlotte Flair, daughter of Ric Flair, beat Brie Bella. Woo!" But no, they didn't even mention it at all. So they're just ignoring that entire storyline altogether, and thus making Brie's entire career seem insignificant. Oh, but the Bellas have so much backstage power, right? That's why Brie is going to retire as a jobber, while the NXT Divas, I'm just going to start shouting that every time I mention them, since apparently that word pisses them off, but the NXT Divas have all the opportunities handed to them that no other divas in the history of wrestling have ever had. While the rest of the current Divas roster, who by the way is the most dedicated Divas roster that the WWE has ever had, are paid to dust completely. This is the biggest reason why I really hope that Shane McMahon is back for good. Because a lot of people like to overlook all of the politics that Triple H plays just because he's using his pull for people that the IWC likes now. But the fact of the matter is, he is just as, if not more stubborn than Vince McMahon is. So Shane McMahon really needs to come back and save us before Triple H turns WWE into an indie fed. But now let's switch gears a little bit and get into WrestleMania. Earlier this year, when everyone was talking about how this year's WrestleMania was going to be the worst in history, I couldn't help but shake the feeling that WWE was going to do something big to turn everything around at the last minute, and that's exactly what they've done. No one expected Shane McMahon to come back to the company at all. Nonetheless, in a WrestleMania match against The Undertaker, I'm actually surprised that more people aren't pissed off about that. The fact that a part-timer is coming back to take a spot from a rising new star like Braun Strowman. But then again, maybe everyone just realizes that a 50-year-old Shane McMahon is still superior to 99% of the current roster. It also looks like they changed their plans around from what was supposed to be Brock Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt to now having it be Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose. I do think that the Bray Wyatt match would have been better, but now that it's a street fight, we can definitely expect one hell of an epic spot fest. In fact, one thing that I'm looking forward to the most at WrestleMania is seeing which of the two guys is going to pull out the craziest stunts of the night. Is it going to be Dean Ambrose or is it going to be Shane McMahon? In fact, that's such an interesting little dynamic that we're going to have at WrestleMania that I think I'm going to make that the poll of the week. Who do you guys think is going to kill themselves at WrestleMania? As far as Triple H versus Roman Reigns, I'm really not feeling this. I think it would have been a lot better if it was Roman Reigns versus Vince McMahon, and then Stephanie could have had a match with Brie. That way we have a McMahon in every WrestleMania match. I thought that would have been a pretty big dynamic, because this match with Triple H really doesn't feel like a WrestleMania main event match should feel. I don't know about the rest of the WrestleMania card, but from the looks of it, I think we're about to make history. This could be the first time that every WrestleMania from start to finish is awesome for 3 years straight. You could probably make the argument for 17, 18, and 19, but let's be honest, the only thing that anyone remembers from 18 is Rock versus Hogan. So now I want to get into fan feedback. I want to make this show as interactive as possible. So this is going to be a segment where I engage you guys a little bit more, asking for your feedback and responding to any general feedback that we get. I was thinking about possibly merging MTO Vision with my Women's Wrestling Weekly series, where I talk about all the Divas matches from this past week. Is that something you guys will be interested in, or should I keep those two separate? The last thing I want to address, I've noticed some of you guys aren't too fond of Omar. Now I know he's nowhere near as awesome as I am, but still, I just want to address that and get down to the root of the problem to hopefully try to resolve it a little bit. So you guys can please just feel free to leave 10 reasons why MTO is better than Omar, and maybe Omar will read that and maybe realize the errors in some of the things that he does and try to adjust a little bit. So now it's time to get into the Q&A portion of the show. The first question I have here is from Mark Lockett, and he basically asks, what advice would I give to a fan that wants to get into TNA? I think the trick to getting into any wrestling show or TV show or movie or anything is to first find someone that you like and stick with that person. For example, if you were a fan of Kurt Angle in the WWE, go watch some Kurt Angle moments from TNA and see how much you like it. Eventually you'll find other people that you like and want to check out. And who knows, maybe you'll get hooked so quickly by everything else that it won't take that long before you decide that, you know what, I really like TNA. I think I'm going to watch the entire show this week. But the thing you have to know about TNA before jumping into it is that you're going to have to turn your brain off a little bit. They're going to do a lot of really stupid things, both on TV and behind the scenes, that are going to make you question sometimes why you bother supporting the company. You have to go into it expecting to be pissed off and disappointed a lot. Being a TNA fan, especially in 2016, is a pretty depressing job overall, so you gotta go in prepared. This next question comes from Ask FM. What do I think about TNA haters who praised NXT for signing ex-TNA guys? On one hand, yeah, it is hypocritical for people to say that TNA is this jobber company and they have nothing but jobbers. But then when they hear a guy like AJ Styles is going to jump to the WWE, they treat it like he's going to be the biggest star in the company and ratings are going to go through the roof if he ever becomes champion. But I can also see the other side that says, well, TNA has peaked. They're not going to get any bigger. In fact, they're shrinking every year. And everyone in TNA is stuck at a certain level. No matter how big they get in TNA, they're never going to reach the popularity of, say, a mid-carder from the WWE. So if you take a big guy from TNA and move them over to NXT, that's where they're finally going to get the chance to become as big as they have the potential to be. So that's what I think it is. I don't think anyone really hates the talent of TNA as much as they just hate the company of TNA. But let's not forget, the same people who are clinging on to NXT right now are the same ones that used to chant TNA at WWE shows. Because we all wanted TNA to be the alternative, but somewhere down the line, they kept dropping the ball over and over and over again. And I think it's a real testament to just how badly that TNA screwed things up, because a lot of the things that people are excited about that are happening on NXT are all things that TNA once had at their fingertips. You know, they had the talent, they had the legends, the great women's division, the great match quality, partnerships with the indies, TV 14, hardcore matches, everything. TNA had it all, but they did nothing with it. So eventually, people just gave up on TNA, and now they've moved on to NXT. Now, before I get into everything else, I just want to let everyone know that we've been getting like 20 copyright strikes per day from someone claiming to be WWE. But we know it's not WWE because, for one, they've been alternating between claims on behalf of WWE and TNA. And we know that that's crap because we've never gotten a claim from TNA. So it's ironic that we would start getting multiple claims from TNA in the middle of these random WWE claims that just sprung from out of nowhere 2 weeks ago. Second, half of these claims are based off crap that WWE doesn't even own. I've even gotten a few claims from Bali Rules. It's something that I've heard about a lot on YouTube, where people re-upload videos somewhere else and then claim it to be their own on YouTube to make money off of it. Either way, it's obviously not legit, so I'm looking into it and working on a way to fix that issue. In the meantime, for all the videos that do get blocked and removed temporarily, you can find all our videos in full length on Daily Motion. So now let's get into the comment video response. I have two comments that I want to get into from one of our big homies, TheGlowHD. The first comment is a response to my response to his response regarding Total Divas. You do have some good points. I'm not going to disagree with much of what you said because it does make sense. Although one thing I do disagree with is that Total Divas could have waited another year. I think the timing was just fine because if you remember, the Divas division in 2012 was the most irrelevant that it's ever been. So Total Divas at least help make some of those divas look a little bit more relevant. But you do have a good argument that Total Divas hasn't really elevated any of the cast members besides the Bellas and Eva Marie. But the biggest thing I think you have to look at regarding Total Divas is that even though it may not have elevated everyone, it's for the most part been the crutch that keeps most of them on TV at all. Especially now that the NXT divas are taking over, Total Divas is the only thing that's going to keep divas like Naomi and Natalya on TV. While you could argue that, oh well, those are just pointless Total Diva promotion matches that don't mean anything, they're just filler. Well, the unfortunate truth is, without Total Divas, they wouldn't even be on TV right now, period. So I think in that aspect, Total Divas has helped everyone, and it's probably going to be the only reason why they're able to get on the card at Wrestlemania this year. The second comment I want to address is a comment that TheGlowHD made about AJ leaving the WWE. So his comment basically defends AJ, saying that, well, just because she quit doesn't mean she doesn't have a passion for wrestling. There's a few parts I want to get into regarding this issue because some people, not talking about you, Glowy, like to give AJ a free pass on this entire situation. Now, you are right. Just because someone decides one day that, you know what, maybe this isn't for me anymore, doesn't mean they never loved it to begin with. If that were the case, then you could say that about every wrestler that has ever left WWE. However, AJ's case is way different from that. For one, everything about the way that she walked out showed nothing but selfishness. Because apparently, the supposed reason why she left the WWE was because CM Punk was being sued. Well, that lawsuit was filed in the middle of one of her breaks, which, by the way, WWE gave her time off whenever she wanted it. If that was the reason why she left, then she would have requested her release right there. But she didn't. She came back to make sure that she got a WrestleMania paycheck. And that's not even deniable. And then, to add to that, she kept it hidden from the company that she was planning on leaving just so she didn't have to lose and put anyone over in her last match. And then she had to, quote unquote, retire as a way to get out of her contract because they still had plans for her going after WrestleMania. This wouldn't even be an issue if it wasn't for the perception that she and her fans made. Sure, you don't have to wrestle until you're 80 to prove that you love wrestling, but that also contradicts everything that AJ claimed to stand for. And it contradicts every reason why AJ fans claim to hate Total Divas, especially because while in the same breath that people defend AJ for leaving WWE to become a movie star and saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal. She did everything, she doesn't have to wrestle forever. But then they have the nerve to question the passion of other divas. You can't have it both ways. So that's what the problem is. It's not just about the fact that AJ left, it's about the entire situation surrounding it. But that just about does it. There are a couple of other comments that I wanted to get into, but I don't want this video to run for too long. But hey, if you guys wouldn't mind if this show went on for longer than that, maybe 20 minutes, then let me know, and I'll start increasing the time of this show.